What is the cause of the differences in the severity of coronavirus infections? Particularly, why do males seem to represent the majority of deaths in diverse countries studied? Well, this is currently under investigation, but there are a number of possible reasons, and the answer could be some combination of all of these. The protein ACE2 is not only critical because it is the receptor through which the virus enters cells, but its action is protective from the severe health consequences from which people seem to die during coronavirus infections. And it is the decrease of functional ACE2 which thus seems to lead to these fateful consequences. The gene for ACE2 is located on the X chromosome. It is an X-linked gene. This means that women have two copies of the gene and men only have one, and thus potentially women could express double the level of the protein in their cells compared to men. One could argue, yes, but isn't one of the X chromosomes randomly inactivated during fetal development in females so that the levels of X-linked proteins are thus equal? In many cases, yes, but that is not 100%. There are regions of the X chromosome which even on the inactivated X chromosome are expressed and thus are called pseudo-autosomal. Thus, a woman could potentially be expressing double the amount of a protein, protecting her from the negative health consequences of coronavirus compared to men. There are alleles of ACE2 which increase the likelihood that one will develop hypertension, and hypertension is a risk factor for severe consequences in coronavirus. If a woman is heterozygous for one of these alleles, she would still express an allele which would decrease her risk of hypertension, whereas a male would only have that allele of ACE2, thus be at a higher risk of hypertension and at a higher risk then of severe consequences in a coronavirus infection. Men and women vary in their production of steroid hormones, like estrogens like estradiol and androgens like testosterone. Estrogen seems to have protective effects in, say, endothelial linings, lowering risk of heart disease, decreasing the levels of reactive oxygen species, and decreasing the inflammation promoted by angiotensin II. In contrast, androgens are required for the transcription and thus production of a serine protease, which is critical for the coronavirus entry into cells. And so it could be that women are making more of a hormone which lowers risk of severe symptoms, while men are making more of a hormone which helps to facilitate coronavirus infection. If androgens are required for the production of this protein which promotes coronavirus infection, this might explain why children seem less susceptible to the virus. Males also seem to promote a pro-inflammatory state more than females, as can be measured by certain interleukin hormones and other biological signals. And inflammation then involves a great deal of signaling by immune cells, which can then worsen hypertension, worsen heart disease, worsen asthma and lung dysfunction, all of which then are risk factors for more severe coronavirus infections. Inflammation has been also linked to aging, so that the higher your inflammatory state, the more rapidly your body is biologically aging, and accelerated age is a risk for coronavirus. What are the risk factors for coronavirus and why do men seem to suffer worse, making up the majority of fatalities? Well, the answer is being investigated scientifically by experts in the field who are publishing their reports in peer-reviewed scientific journals, which have very high standards for publication. Will you seek out answers to these questions here as the pandemic unfolds? Or would you be more likely to seek out a Facebook post from people that you knew in high school for answers to these questions?